Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada developed the plastic mulch program as a response to the Kyoto Accord goal to cut greenhouse gas emissions. With every tree order, they supply plastic mulch to cover the ground that the new seedlings are planted in. The mulch cuts down on competition from weeds and conserves moisture, which translates into more live trees surviving. The maples on the left are 4 years old, and the newly planted seedlings on the right have just been pulled through the mulch. We source all of our trees through PFRA Shelter Belt program at no cost to us. Imagine that, free. In 2006, we planted 6 1.2-acre plots of 16 different species of trees in 10 rows, including conifers, deciduous, and berry bushes. About 800 trees in each plot. These are wildlife habitat plantings, and it is our hope that these new bushes will attract more biodiversity to our farm. The county supplies the planter and 2 people to plant for free. It took a day and a half to plant these wildlife plantings, consisting of 5,000 trees, and a day to put 1 mile of plastic mulch on with this applicator. Within 1 week of planting, grass seed is planted between the rows of trees and is mowed each year in July. These wildlife habitat plantings were planted in 2006. This is how they look this past fall. Erecting birdhouses has become another goal for our farm to increase biodiversity. In 2001, I built 150 houses and put 30 on each of our 5-quarter sections. The occupancy rate was 27% the first year and has risen steadily to 94% in 2007 and has maintained this level ever since. This proves to me that if you build it, they will come. We now have over 200 birdhouses. There are some interesting things happening regarding our commitment to providing homes for birds. When the grasshopper population got out of control in our area in 2002, we didn't have a problem on our farm. I noticed that a lot of our birdhouse residents were feasting on the larvae as well as the hoppers. As we all know, there are no free lunches, and this is a great way for the birds to pay the rent for the housing. Ever since moving to the farm, we've always had the odd mountain bluebird show up, but have noticed an increasing presence with the addition of the birdhouses and also the habitat changes that we're making. Their iridescent blue plumage adds color to the landscape, which in turn puts a bit of a bounce in this farmer's step. They consume terrestrial insects like grasshoppers and grasshopper larvae. This bluebird is setting on her newly hatched family. She had a total of 8 young ones with the first hatch, and she's now setting on more eggs in the second hatch. Meadowlarks disappeared from the farm for 11 years. They returned because I started to manage our overgrazed pastures with a lot more care. Instead of grazing them like a golf course green, I started resting them. This allowed the root system to develop and the canopy to grow, and in turn created nesting habitat for meadowlarks and more productive pasture for the cattle. One of the duties that they excel in is in consuming grasshoppers. Their cheerful song is the voice of the grasslands and enhances the spirit of the land. After 11 years of silence, it was a great feeling to give the farm back its most beautiful voice. Red-tailed hawks also make their home on our farm. We welcome their presence as they keep the mice, the voles, and the gopher populations under control. A pair of hawks with their young in one season consumes approximately 500 gophers. This family of great horned owls like to nest along our riparian woodlands in areas with lots of shrubs. They eat mice, voles, pocket gophers, and skunks. Breeding pairs of pileated woodpeckers require a territory of about 100 acres of mature forest. They prefer dead and dying trees and enjoy a diet of ants and berries. We graze our native pasture and bush starting in mid-September. The lack of disturbance from grazing cattle in spring and summer creates an abundance of wild raspberries and saskatoons for their diet. They may also like the buffet that our shelter belt berry bushes are providing. This is another important partnership and friend of our farm. Glenn Havinegard is an associate professor of geography and environmental studies at Augustana University in Camrose, which is about 50 minutes from our farm. Glenn started coming to our farm in June of 2004 to do annual surveys of bird populations. He chose 9 different areas on the farm that give a fairly good profile of different ecosystems that are present. In each of the 9 areas, he does a 10-minute visual and audio study of the various species. The first survey in 2004 yielded 46 species. Since then, if you add all the species that he has identified, the total comes to 84 species. The highlight for this year's survey was identifying a marsh wren, which is an indicator of a healthy wetland. Many of these species serve as a barometer that tells us how well we are managing our land and the various ecosystems. We usually hear a Sprague's pipit in one of the 9 areas that we've never seen one. This year we heard them in 5 areas, but again, we never saw them. A week after Glenn did the survey, I stumbled across 2 nests and was able to solve the mystery as to why we had so many. Last year I left more litter, or dead grass, which you can see in the picture. By springtime, the dead grass, which had now become a blanket of litter covering the ground, provided Sprague's pipits with excellent nesting conditions. And I understand that the Sprague's pipit is on the Alberta Species of Special Interest list, so we're very proud that we're providing a home and a future for them on our farm. A closer look reveals a well-camouflaged nest with 4 eggs. Although the parents were quite elusive, Marie was able to get a picture of the young ones. They are also fond of grasshoppers in their diet. As our wetland continues to develop, more species of birds and waterfowl show up each year. Yellow-headed blackbirds arrived in 2003, and they've come back every spring since. Pelicans checked out the wetland in 2006 and also are repeat visitors. Again, I'm told that their presence is an indicator of a healthy wetland. Now you know a little bit about what our farm raises to sell to consumers and how the various partnerships have helped us to promote and maintain biodiversity. When we farmed the conventional way, we hauled our grain to the elevator, we took our cattle to the auction market, and we collected whatever the buyer was willing to give us. This way of farming led to wetlands being drained, many trees being cleared to grow more grain, and pastures being overgrazed to make ends meet. It resulted in what I refer to as the dark side of stewardship. Agriculture has become big, and it's getting bigger. A small farm like ours simply could not compete in the commodities market. Like this cat, I had become comfortable in the old box. This is an extreme example of thinking outside of that box. I couldn't figure out why birds never used our bird bath. Marie captured the answer in this picture. These cats are proactive, and they're thinking of a new way to find lunch. They're disguising themselves as a welcoming committee for prospective feathered visitors to this bird bath in our yard. Although these stewardship efforts have been a lot of work and major commitment, I would have to say that this has been the easy part. As farmers, we have proven to ourselves that you can't purchase stewardship. The changes to our farm that you've witnessed today have taken over 12 years. Demonstrating to consumers the importance of caring for the land is the challenge. In the giant corporate grocery stores, you can purchase foods that cost much less, have a convenience factor, and are also certified organic. But are the farming practices from which they come sustainable? Do they speak about the value and benefits of stewardship? I believe that our last hope of staying on the land as small farmers and ranchers is in finding a niche in practicing stewardship full speed ahead. And in our spare time, telling our story to the consumer and anyone else who will listen. The story is so important. One advantage that we have is that consumers are becoming more knowledgeable and concerned about issues such as climate change, global warming, local food, slow food, food security, water quality and quantity, carbon sequestration, peak oil, species at risk, biodiversity, sustainability, and I'm sure you could add a few others. Without their support, we simply cannot survive. As farmers, we have to become less bashful and shy about our stewardship efforts and become more proactive. I will share a few examples of where this journey is taking us. We've been working with our partners to bring people to the farm and host various initiatives. Our goals are twofold. It's a way for us to show people a different way of farming, and also that stewardship is not rocket science. This Women's Day, called Thinking Outside the Box, Thinking Outside the Fence took place a couple springs ago. We basically had some ladies in to show them what we do. In June of this spring, PFRA and Alberta Woodlot Extension held a workshop at the farm on shelter belt planting, wildlife habitat planting, and discussed various tree diseases and insect problems. And there again, we had a chance to show farmers a different way of farming.